It's Relationship Tip Thursday, and today we will be talking about forgiveness because the state of that we are in is we need to learn how to forgive. I love this topic because I've been watching Pastor Michael Todd do some sermons on forgiveness, FU University, Forgiveness University. And he did this really good sermon 2 weeks ago about framing your forgiveness. And I thought that that would be perfect to do for framing your forgiveness in a relationship and what that looks like. So, of course, he lists a couple categories that forgiveness falls under. You have fault, frustration, fail, and flagrant fouls. And so, usually under the fault comes the offense, the feeling, and the result of what that all that happens. And then you have that what causes frustration. So when somebody faults you, it can cause you to be frustrated, or when somebody faults you, it can cause you to feel like they have failed you. Or when somebody faults you, you can feel like it's a flagrant foul, and flagrant foul means that was on purpose. You meant to do that. While he's preaching the sermon, I realize that a lot of us get to the offense, we get offended. Then we have a feeling because something offends us. And then we have the result. We don't ever really get down to the bottom, which is all the answers, which is the antidote, the answer, and the reaction from that. We kind of get caught up in the recycling the phase of the offense, the feeling, and the result, what that all causes, right? And if you think about the word recycle, a lot of us recycle things in our relationship that shouldn't be recycled. Recycle means to reuse. I remember asking my kids this last night about them fighting. And I was like, when one says one thing about the other, and the other person goes back and said that all you did was recycle what the other person did cause the feeling for you. And I said, so you have to trash it, not recycle it. You have to throw that in the trash. And that goes the same thing with relationships and when you're at it with your spouse or going at it. So I'm just going to go through a few of them because I don't want this video to be super long. But when somebody faults you, the offense happens. And that there usually is an exchange if you're frustrated. So imagine you walking in the kitchen and it's like, what do you want for dinner, honey? And you're like, you always want me to ask what I want for dinner. And it's like, but you didn't answer the question. So there's an exchange. Then the feeling causes you to be not valued. Oh, you should know me enough that you should know what I want for dinner or know what I want to eat. That's why he asked you. And then you have the result. And the result is usually being petty. So you usually say something like, well, fine then. I guess neither one of us is eating. I guess whatever. That what is what it is. That usually what happens. And then you recycled all of that. But Pastor Michael Todd gives us the antidote, the answer, and the result. So when when you get to the point of the result where you want to feel petty, the antidote is maturity. You have to mature. You have to get through that ish, right? You have to think about it and you have to now be so mature that you go back and listen to what you were asked. What do you want for dinner? Instead of saying, oh, you should know, it just answer the question. That's maturity. That's going back and reevaluating like what was actually said or what did I actually respond to, right? And that moves into you being mature and then going to the next step, which is the answer. And that's patience. It's like having a sit back and somebody saying, well, I asked you. Well, answer the question. What do you want for dinner?
Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I was petty like a child. I wanted to have an exchange like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became an adult, when I became a man, watch this. This is key. I voluntarily gave up childish ways. What this tells me is maturity is a choice.
He then gives us the reaction, and the reaction is to just bounce back. And normally, we don't bounce back. We quickly usually be petty. We're quick to be petty and slow to bounce back. But imagine if you just switch those two. Slow to be petty and quick to bounce back, right? Imagine if your agility was just like, ooh, We having spaghetti for dinner. That's what we want. That's what I want. And then you listen. Because that could have just been, okay, honey, I'll make spaghetti if that's what you want. And that's how you get that. You have now framed that forgiveness, and look how that happened, right? And you didn't have to waste your time on saying I'm sorry or anything or being mad or caught up in something. You just really figured out where that focus was, and you framed it, and you zoomed in, and you figured it out.
Okay, let me give you the last piece of this. So what's the reaction when somebody frustrates me? When I have a reaction and I get maturity and patience, what I need to do is bounce back. Stop letting the littlest stuff take your day, take your peace, take your joy. Some of y'all scared to answer the phone because you think it's going to be something bad and something. Tell me something about. Bounce back. When the bad news come, I'm going to bounce back. Oh, and I'm going to bounce back. When they tell me something wrong, I'm going to bounce back. Whoa, I said, I'm going to bounce back. When everything is gone, I'm going to bounce back. Yo, I'm going to bounce back.
I think in the early stages of forgiveness, usually you get caught up in that frustration stage. And you usually don't even get past that because you're so caught up in that, and you just recycle the pettiness and the no value feeling in the exchange of where it happened. If you use those last three things, the antidote, the answer, and the reaction, you can become such a better person in your relationship. And some things just don't really require much of an apology if it came from misunderstanding when it's in the frustration stage. It's usually that you weren't even listening. You owe the apology. But I'm just saying. So moving forward, that is that first step. I don't want to make this video long, so I'm going to make another one and post it in a few days of the next step, which is when somebody fails you, because I think this is good. And to align it with your relationships, I think you might like it. All right, check this out.
Hey, if you like what my mom is doing, make sure you click like and subscribe.